For years, there was this ironclad belief in real estate that the value of homes in America's most beautiful mountain towns could only go up. Well, that idea has just been completely shattered.
And let's be clear, what we're seeing isn't some minor correction or a little temporary slowdown. No, this is a systemic failure, and it's hitting communities that a lot of people thought were totally untouchable. In some of the most exclusive markets, places like Aspen, prices have just plummeted by as much as 32%. It's wiped out years of gains almost overnight and left a lot of investors completely trapped. Okay, so let's really dive into this. We're going to break down exactly how this happened, piece by piece, and see who's getting wiped out. And most importantly, we're going to cover what this all means for anyone who is even thinking about buying a place in the mountains. So the very first domino to fall was the short-term rental market. See, it was fueled by super low interest rates and that whole pandemic-era rush to get out of the city. The dream of passive income turned into this absolute buying frenzy. And now, it's a financial nightmare for thousands of people.
I mean, just look at this contrast. It's so stark. The promise was this easy-breezy mountain lifestyle, all paid for by guaranteed rental income. But the reality today? It's crippling new regulations, a huge oversupply of properties, and booking calendars that are just frighteningly empty. To really see how this is hitting real people, let's take a look at Rick and Susan. They're a retired couple, and they thought they were making a really safe investment for their future out in Truckee, California. So back in 2021, right at the peak of the boom, they bought this cabin for $1.2 million. And like so many others, they were totally confident that that steady Airbnb income was going to help support them through retirement. And you know what? At first, the plan worked flawlessly. The place was booked solid, bringing in over $6,000 a month. It was the dream scenario, right? It just reinforced that feeling that they'd made a brilliant, can't-miss investment. And then, here's how fast it all just fell apart. After some new local regulations got passed, their booking calendar went from totally full to over 70% empty, and it felt like it happened overnight. What was once their passive income became the source of constant financial stress. And their story, well, it's not unique at all. We're seeing this exact same pattern all across these mountain towns. Over in Breckenridge, Colorado, similarly strict rental regulations caused Airbnb revenue to just collapse by 70%. And the ripple effect has been devastating. It's left 45 commercial storefronts sitting vacant on what used to be a bustling main street.
But believe it or not, the rental bust is only part of the story. There's a second crisis that's making ownership itself completely unaffordable, and that is the skyrocketing cost of insurance.
So, this is a crucial point you have to understand, the concept of a wildfire risk zone. As this risk has gotten worse, major insurance companies like State Farm and Allstate have just pulled out of entire states, like California, leaving homeowners with terrifyingly few and incredibly expensive options. Take James over in Mammoth Lakes. After a really weak snow season dried up all the tourism, he's just stuck. He says, quote, "I can't rent it and I can't sell it." And in the meantime, he's bleeding nearly $20,000 a year just to cover his condo's costs. But it gets even more extreme. In Crested Butte, Colorado, a single-family home was recently quoted an annual insurance premium of $70,000. That's more than the median household income for the entire country. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. That is almost $6,000 a month for insurance alone. That's before you pay property taxes, before maintenance, and before you pay a single dollar on the mortgage. It makes ownership completely impossible. So with rental income gone and insurance costs just exploding, you might think, well, a wealthy cash buyer could just swoop in and pick up a deal, right? Wrong. The third factor in this whole meltdown is that in this climate of high interest rates and economic uncertainty, the luxury buyer has simply vanished. Just look at Vail, Colorado. Transactions are down over 70%. Homes are just sitting on the market for over 6 months, and even then, they often need price cuts of 12% or more just to get sold. This lack of activity has even blown a $20 million hole in the town's own budget. And it's a very similar story over in Park City, Utah. A huge oversupply of brand new, empty condos has flooded the market. That's pushed Airbnb rates down by 25% and left investors trapped in properties that don't generate income and have no one to sell to. And all of this, it brings us to the epicenter of the collapse, Aspen, Colorado. This is the place where every single problem we've just talked about comes together in its most extreme and, frankly, shocking form. I mean, this chart just shows total market paralysis. The number of homes for sale has skyrocketed by 200%, while the number of actual sales has collapsed by over 65%. To put it really simply, everyone is selling and absolutely nobody is buying.
And this has turned the town into what our source is calling a gold-plated ghost town. An incredible 60% of homes in Aspen now sit vacant for 10 months of the year or even more. The town is just hollowed out.
So after seeing all these cautionary tales from all across the country, what does this actually mean for you, for someone who might still be dreaming of a mountain home? How do you avoid falling into these same traps? Okay, so the key takeaway here is you have to do the diligence that buyers in the boom years just flat out ignored. Before you even look at a property, you have to confirm that you can get affordable insurance. You've got to dig into the local short-term rental laws. Compare the home prices to what the year-round locals can actually afford to pay. And finally, you have to ask yourself, is there a real community still here, or is it just a collection of empty houses? Because here's the ultimate lesson in all of this. A beautiful view is worthless if the property becomes an illiquid money pit. The old rules of mountain town real estate? They're broken. So looking back at these examples, which town story really concerns you the most?